Hey guys, welcome back. Bobby Thompson here. If you saw my first video, you probably have a good idea what this video is going to be about. Um, I have a podcast, Jiu-Jitsu and Coffee. We talk about Jiu-Jitsu and we talk about conspiracies. And several years ago, I started going down the road of flat Earth and space is fake. And I shared the story of how I ended up going down that road. Nobody chooses to go down that road. I guess if you're listening to this video, you probably were just like me a few years ago, where you absolutely knew without question that we lived on a spinning ball, spinning on an orbit around a sun that was hurling through, hurling through our galaxy and which is hurling through a universe. But as you went down this road, how did I go down the road, which I shared in the last video? I went to prove someone wrong, right? I was arguing with someone, and I went to find indisputable proof, and that's where the problem came up. So I wanted to take it, I wanted to try to add to the community and understand that there's nothing that I have found. I haven't found anything that no one else has found. I can just give you my spin. And I thought maybe I'd apply it to the Jiu-Jitsu community. I know Eddie Bravo out there. If you're into Jiu-Jitsu, you know Eddie Bravo is going down this road, and you know that Chrome Gracie is going down this road. And I'm sure there's more. It took me a long time before I could come out and discuss it. And I said, finally, when I did come out, and let's just talk for a second. I'm going to get into some videos here in a second and understand this is new to me. I'm not, my brain is not ready to just talk, to free talk. I'm not a storyteller, but I think we need more people out there. That's a problem. I think I now openly post, my beliefs on Facebook, and you get a lot of ridicule. And I knew it was coming when I posted it. I knew that ridicule was coming. I don't think people realize how certain you have to be before you post something like that. And how the biggest problem is how could we even be fooled, right? Like, how could you possibly be fooled? How could you not know, right? Tonight I went to watch a movie with my kids. I just picked a random movie. I didn't know. I'm always, my daughter loves watching, CGI, Pixar, whatever related movies, and I watch them with her. So tonight I picked up, the remote and I started looking at new films, and I saw one that said "Capture the Flag." Didn't know what it was about, but it looked like it was, good level graphics, Pixar quality. So I played it, and immediately it's about flat earthers versus, globular earthers. It's kids. It's geared towards young kids, 3-year-olds that enjoy this flick, 3, 4, 5, and it was really interesting because it was making a mockery of the guy trying to prove the Earth. Well, he was trying to make a mockery of the moon landing. I'm sorry. So I didn't make it to the whole film. It was them trying to say the moon landing was a fake, and but this was for kids. This is a movie geared, a 1.5-hour movie for kids called Capture the Flag. I only saw the first 15 minutes of it. Didn't watch the whole movie, but they had, people working for NASA in there. They had one guy showing fake footage of the moon. Stanley Kubrick comes running out like he's all pissed off because a prop in the set. It's really hilarious. So there's a battle going on, and you don't, this is my belief, and I know crazy as it sounds, and maybe I'll find out I'm wrong one day, right? But I got here trying to prove someone else wrong. I got here doing a lot of 3 years of investigation. Sometimes 8 hours a day, sometimes 3 hours a night, sometimes 4 or 5, sometimes 8 hours a night. Sometimes I'm on my computer all day, just reading, watching, learning. And I'm not going to keep boring you with the details. Let's get into, I'm going to share with you some of my favorite videos, and I'm going to talk us through them. Okay. So, and if you have questions, the cool thing about this is you can reach out to me. I put my Facebook in the description. You can add me there, message me. But let's look at this video. I don't have, this is NASA footage. Unfortunately, I don't, in the format I'm looking right now, I don't have the date, but you know, if you doubt it, ping me. I'll dig that up. But what is this supposed to be? An airlock here? Are they in space? What's with the canvas door? Have you ever seen this in any movie? In Star Trek and in Star Wars and Space Odyssey? I mean, what's up with the canvas airlock here, right? If that doesn't draw some suspicion to you, something's wrong. And while we're looking at this video, and while this continues to play, and while you look at, and this is someone else's video, by the way, guys, none of this footage is mine. If anyone has an issue with me using footage, let me know. I'll give you credit. I'll add it to the video. I'll add it to the description. I'll take it down. Again, I'm not here saying I discovered any of this. But one video you're never gonna see, and people, when you get in the community, people make some really good points. Why do we never see the astronauts suiting up and going out the airlock into space? Just think about that. Stop and think about it. This is what you see in the movies. This is what you see in real, in what we'd expect to see in real life. That is the terrifying moment. You're going into what we believe to be this vastness of space, this void. You're going into we don't even have anything like it on Earth. It's not the ocean. It's not, you're going out into supposed endlessness, and we don't have this. You always see them suiting up and then cut away to outside. Like they always have some camera ironically angled outside somewhere that can see all this. And it makes no sense, right? So we would have that footage, right? Just like another thing you'll never see is a 360 view, right? You'll never see them spin around. And again, if you watch the first video, I'm going to be repetitive. Every video is going to be repetitive, just because there's only so much evidence out there. But again, this video here, which you see all the time in their videos, they're in water here. If you ask my opinion, they're in a tank, right? They've got the space station is set up, and you can see that footage is out there. That NASA doesn't even deny it, that they have a mock-up underwater. They just say, well, this is for practice. We practice underwater, and it's an exact mock-up. So this is obviously the canvas airlock, which is hilarious. Let's look at another video now. This is someone else's work I'm about to show you. It's all someone else's work. But again, here's an astronaut using these hydrophobic paddles, and he can't track. You would be tracking if this were real right now. This is augmented reality, okay? And his eyes can't track the ball because it's not. Oops, sorry about that. Let's play it again, because it's not really there, right? This may be green screen actually, because if it were augmented reality, he could track the ball. So therefore, this could be green screen. I'm not sure if this is green screen, or I'm not sure if it's augmented reality. More than likely green screen. But look, he can't track the ball. Like, that makes no sense whatsoever. All right, so just let's move on. I'm just going to go through some of the clips I've got laying around. This one, let's pause for a second. I'm not taking credit for this. I'd love to give the guy credit. Let me explain. When I started saving videos years ago, I just started saving the clips. I don't even know how to find these clips again. So again, whoever did this, great work. There's tons of guys in the community. There's some really reputable ones. And at the end, I'll always talk about some of these people. I'll try to always remember there's shills out there that'll misguide you and say stupid shit to send you right off the trail and say, yeah, these guys are fucking idiots. And then there's really legit guys out there proving that NASA's lying to you, right? Not just NASA, JAXA, ESA, every space agency out there. But let's look at this one here. There's a problem right here. This guy's arm is vanishing. Okay. You see that right there is not, that's clear. That's the telltale sign of green screen or blue screen. That you can use any color, call it what you want, chroma key. All right. This happens with chroma key technology, right? That's a telltale sign. it's cutting into his arm. There's an indentation. That does not happen. That does not exist anywhere else. Okay, that doesn't happen. It's the technology works better when you have sharp, contrasty colors. Like if you're using blue against green, or red against yellow, opposites. But when you have hair and it's harder. The software can't it can't deal with blur and non-sharp objects. Okay, so it's really hard to deal with hair. That's the problem. Hair on the arms, and in this instance, right? So if we watch here, you see what this guy's pointing out. His arm's kind of morphing, and it's taking weird shapes. And if you've dealt with green screen, you see that it's cut in here. Okay, right? So this guy's got his mouse pointer, and I've got mine. But that is chroma key. That's chroma key, guys. If you can't see that, you're probably never. I don't know that there's much. Watch his thumb. I watched this earlier. It's like, see the top? You see it looked like it grew like a half an inch real quick. It cuts in here. Now you're see-through. There's all kinds of anomalies on this thumb, right? If you can't see that, the problem you have is you've got what's called cognitive dissonance, which is your brain is rejecting what you're seeing. You refuse. You're like, you will not believe that NASA would lie to you. Why? Because why would they need to? The problems that come up if you start to believe get way worse. And again, watch. You see it. It's cutting into where his arm should be right here. I see what the guy's seeing. You either see it or you don't. There's no clear delineation of the guy's arm right now. See, and then all of a sudden the software, that's chroma key. That's what happens when you have software tracing you and it doesn't know where to trace. Sometimes it traces in. This is like real-time tracing software. I don't know how to explain. I understand what it does, but I can't make you see it, right? And all these anomalies that you're seeing right now, his whole arm disappeared right there. Let's go back. Let's go back right there. Watch this. His whole tricep is going to go invisible. See that? See that? That right there is chroma key. That's unquestionably chroma key. So if you can't see this, I can't help you. And their technology's gotten better. This is an older video. They use higher resolution cameras, and they know how to make, they know what colors to contrast with. And again, technology does get better, right? Technology gets smarter. The algorithm, look at his whole arm right here. It's shifted over. That doesn't happen with the shirt, right? You could say, well, that's artifacting. No, it's not. It's not happening with the shirt. It doesn't happen with any other, it only happens. It's struggling because of the hair right here, okay? All right, so whoever did this video, I wish I could give you credit. I apologize for that. Let me know if you know who did it, and I'll give him a shout out or take it down if he wants me to. Let's look at this one here. All right, so can't remember this lady's name, but look now. She can't stop this. She starts turning sideways. She didn't do it intentionally. All of a sudden, and what's really interesting is the lady that's interviewing her says, "You gonna be all right?" Like I can't remember what her name is. If you watch, this is someone put it on the screen. Are you gonna be okay? Or haha, let's laugh about it. And then I don't know if the plane had to shift for some reason, change directions. I don't know. Sometimes it just happens. If you watch the 0G, like essentially what she's in right now is in a 0G plane. So in this instance, there's no wires. There's no green screen. This is just, she's in a 0G plane. They have a mock-up set up. And again, in videos like this, they can't do a 360, right? They don't show you the fourth wall, sorry. But she just floated up sideways, and she's trying to play it off. And yeah, she's floating right there, no doubt about it. But she's not floating because there's no gravity. She's floating because she's on a parabolic trajectory. Let's look at some more overlay fails. That right there, all right? That is, that's an overlay fail. And see her hand right here? Do you saw his do it? They are in front of, this is one overlay on top of another. And this is their software that's on, and see right here, watch that. See that? Did you catch that? What happened with the microphone? Whoever cut all this did a great job, and it wasn't me again, but it's clear enough to see. Look at that. Boom, it just changed colors. If you're into video editing, look at that. Look at her finger. Boom, it just jumped out of nowhere with one frame. Her finger didn't move that fast. It's just the software that was tracing her and putting her on putting them there together. It freaked out, right? So some people suspect that they're not even side by side, that they're filmed individually, and this all gets muxed together, right? It all gets merged together. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they're there. I think for some they are, for some they aren't. But unquestionably, if you ask me, this is the software they're using. That's augmented reality software. That's not a physical object, right? And there's proof of this if you're willing to watch, if you're willing to do the research, if you're willing to go down that road, because it'll change your life. It changed my life. And I never thought something like this could change my life. And you're saying, well, how can they not know? All right. Let's take a second here. Peggy Whitson. Peggy Whitson went down in the Guinness Book of World Records as the longest amount of time in space, 666 days. And that's what this is about. If I were to play the volume, I'm not going to play the volume. I'm just going through clips. Some really kind of require volume. Some require sound. Some don't. This one, in this case, you just have to trust my word for it. You can look it up. You can just type in Peggy Whitson 666. Isn't that an interesting day to choose? I mean, the guys that are in charge, the people who are running this world, I honestly think it's evil versus good. Like in every sense of what I just said. There's a fight on. I've even gone. I believe it's religious. Like I believe that religion is deeply involved, and whether that's true or not, I'm not telling you that's true. I'm telling you what I believe, and you can draw your own conclusions. And as nutty as it all sounds, you got to be fair, right? If you're, I think Descartes said, in order to be a true seeker of knowledge, you must doubt all things, okay? So if you're watching this video and you haven't doubted that the earth is round, if you haven't doubted it, if you haven't doubted that there is space, then you're not a true seeker of knowledge. So if you just go out and watch a video and zip through it and look for undeniable evidence, like some guy that has his own jet that can just fly into space on his own, well, it's not out there because no one has those resources. And the people that do are either on their team and rewarded with unthinkable sums of money, or you're against them and you're going to be dealt with. All right. Let's again, this is my belief. It's see what this is about. Okay, now this is interesting, right? Why is NASA, this is something NASA released, and this is official video. They just swiped this dude in here. Now, I understand what some of you are saying. You're saying, well, that's, NASA can use green screen. First off, they shouldn't be, right? Because we're in a battle. They're in a battle with flat earthers, all right, and space as fakers. They should not be using any green screen, because this is an admittal by them that they're using green screen. And the problem with this is they just swiped the guy in. The flags did not change at all, meaning they did this in real time, right? Like the background, there's a background image that never stopped moving, and then they just zipped this guy in, right? So you should have a problem with that. That's an admittal from NASA right there that they're using green screen, if nothing else. Okay, so now you know, well, why is NASA using green screen on a guy that's supposed to be in space? This guy's supposed to be in space. So why am I seeing green screen? Why? I have no idea here. Zoot. And you know they did that because the flags did not, they're perfectly where they are, right? I mean, there's no disparity in the movement of the flags, all right? If you haven't seen this one, this is a interesting one. This guy here, we know that he's green screened in, and we know that that microphone's augmented reality, but we'll come back to that. We know he's green screened in because his foot is transparent. It's see-through. That's a see-through foot, right? You shouldn't be seeing through that right there. You can see that whatever this thing is here, I'm seeing through it right here. They're supposed to be hooking their feet under things to keep them from floating around, right? Well, that's Mr. Transparent Foot, and if you can't see that, I can't help you. You know, that's the problem, is you either have cognitive dissonance to such extent that you refuse. I mean, if his foot's over it, you shouldn't see it. All right, it should be white right here. And if his foot's under it, it shouldn't be a different color than this. You shouldn't see this right here, that part of his foot, right? And this should be a little bit darker than that. This is clearly green screen. If you can't, why is NASA using green screen and all of that? Why do they need it? If they're in space, there's an ISS. Why would you need, and they're supposed to be on it, right? These guys are supposed to be on the ISS, and they're telling us in this period they're on it. So why is there green screen? If you don't see that, I can't help you. This is one of the most damning ones. When I saw this one, I said, what? This is official NASA footage, right? Official NASA video. This astronaut spins around a corner and turns invisible, right? That's green screen. And you know, NASA was using, they're always using shittier video than what's out there, right? When there's, you know, 4K, they're using something lower. When there's every time there's whatever they should be ahead. They should be 4 steps ahead. You know, that's what on other levels we believe that. Oh, well, only NASA can go in space. You know, only NASA has this technology. Yet when it comes to cameras, they conveniently have the shittiest fucking cameras in the world. If these coincidences mean nothing to you, you have cognitive dissonance. They've trained you so well, and I was the same way. I get in arguments that people are like, you're fucking retarded, dude. And I was that guy. I can't hate them, right? I can't hate on you for calling me stupid. I was that guy. I was high school educated. I was college educated. I knew better. I knew there was space. It only makes sense. I mean, logically, things in a vacuum in space would turn into a, you know, the draw together, right? There's just pool like water does in an airplane. In a zero-G plane, it does do that. The problem is all the planets and stars we've seen are fake. They're all CGI, and it's all out there. It's undeniable. If you will dig, the proof is out there. There's every day more people are converting. You know, I don't know if I want to say fan. I follow Joe Rogan. He's smart, right? But he lost me when he strayed away from we landed on the moon, right? At first he was, hey, gung ho, we had landed on the moon. He wasn't as big as he is now. You know, he didn't have the same following. And now he's like University of Joe Rogan, and he jumped off the whole, you know, we haven't gone to the moon. And I think he knows better. I think, you know, Eddie has a theory on this as well. You know, Eddie said, hey, the guy didn't tell me, but I suspect, or, you know, it's very possible anyway that he's been threatened. You know, that's a problem. When you reach enough people, they'll come to you. And if there really is a war, like I believe, I've since become religious. You may not. All right. I'm just going to come out there and say, I believe in God. I believe in God as the Bible says so. I've listened to the book of Enoch. I don't know how many times. I think I'm on my 5th. I think it's the 5th. But I've listened. I've been building this warehouse, and I'll just play it as I do work. And sometimes I'll replay sections, and you know, now I believe there's a firmament. I believe the earth is flat. You know, you don't have to believe that, but what you do have to believe, or what I don't see, if you go down this road, I don't see how you can't believe it, is that NASA's lying to you. That's where it starts, right? NASA, ESA, JAXA, every space agent is lying to you. Let's look at this. Here we go. Check out that. Okay, first off, there you go, some artifacting, you know, and look what he does. He's holding this with friction, right? Now he just put his fingers under the other fingers. That is augmented reality, okay? That's how you know this isn't there. But if you watch this video and you don't watch super closely, it looks like he's holding this. They're trained, right? And they have, it's suspected, I'm sure they do, because this technology has actually been shown in other videos, you know, that there's companies that have done it. They have on contacts, and the contacts allow them, it plays like a video. You know, this is the technology that we really do have, that NASA is way ahead of us on. And this guy can interact with this thing, and this thing is trained, it's programmed to interact with him, right? It knows where his hands are. So when the software reads that his hand is touching it, it stops spinning. And that's all very doable. You know, as someone who's done developing, I can tell you that I'm not a great developer, but at least I understand development, and I do develop in several languages. But this is clearly, and I can even see the layout of his hand right here. I can see through right there. Can you see that? It continues. I just noticed that. I had never seen that before. But as you stop it in different places, you pick up different things. Yeah, his hand's showing through there. And even no, I thought maybe the top one was a little bit too. But see, the software messes up. And right now, he's supposed to be holding this. And his fingers don't lift off or anything. He just kind of, the software messed up. It just put his hands under the other. But he's not really holding it anyway, right? If you noticed, if he had let go, he's moving his hand up, the mic would have stayed still. They clearly want you to believe he has friction on it right now, but it's moving with him up and down. And then that finger just went, it doesn't even look natural. Look at that. Look at all, it freaks out all in there. Video doesn't do that. This is damning evidence, okay? It's you can see through it. Look his, yeah, you can see all the different mistakes. The software makes a ton of mistakes. It's a combination of green screen and augmented reality. All right, so he's green screened in there, and the objects that he's working with are augmented reality. That's not this is a natural line. This is not a natural line. It's not behaving correctly. So their software messes up from time to time, which is probably why they do. Now, okay, this is a good one. Okay, so he was seeing something that that the camera wasn't picking up. He's clearly thinking he's moving something. I don't know. He's confused. He thought something was there. He thought maybe he had the baseball cap. I don't know what he thought he had, but he handed something off and placed it there. But he's confused. He didn't know what to do in this moment in time. I don't know if this is a live feed, right? But it is official NASA video. You can, plenty of people go, if you don't believe me, this is official, let me know. I'll send you the link. All right. If that's the problem, I'll track that down. I'd love to know who could fake this anyway. Who could fake this? This dude's an astronaut. This dude, like, if we got that technology, shit, we're done already. If the common guy is faking this video, it's obviously real anyway. The guy's spinning his hat in space. We don't have the money for this. So as far as the commoner doesn't anyway, that right there, he messed up. Must have been live, or they probably would have edited it out. Just again, gonna go through some of my favorite clips. Okay. Oh, this is the disappearing mic cable. Look, the cable. See, when things are too small, the software. See how it goes away and comes back. See how it goes away and comes back. That's because it freaks out the software. Like, the software can't handle too sharp of. just like hairs, just like it struggles with hairs. It struggles, especially when it's too sharp and contrasts there's too much contrasting in the background. It doesn't know how to handle it. It messes up. See it. Look, he even missed with his hand. There's actually a longer. And hey, credit to FlatHeadPolitics out here. They do some really good stuff. This guy does some really good stuff. He's a credible guy to watch. Obviously, he's concerned with who he is. He's wearing a mask here. But I've watched several of his videos, and he always has. It's always good stuff. It's always accurate. It's always the guy does his due diligence. So, it just disappeared, and then it comes back, and then it's over here, and he goes to grab it, and it just kind of moved to his. I don't know. It's clearly fake to me. Here we got some bubbles in space. Let's watch for a bubble. Bloop. That's a bubble, right? How is he gonna explain that? Space, right? Space has no. There's no gravity. Where's it going? Why is it going? And why is it going squiggly like that? It's going left, right, left, right, left, right. Just like a bubble does. But it's a bubble, you know. So this is green screen technology in a pool, right? More than likely, yeah, I'm not going to guess on the colors they're using, or I don't know if they're, but yeah, this is in a pool. That's all that is. They had one astronaut take on a gallon of water. I don't know which astronaut it was, but it made the news. And I think it was live. I think it was an EVA, and it was live. And they're filming it underwater, in my opinion. You know, I think that's unquestionable personally. But the guy's like, "Hey guys, I'm taking on water. Find that." I don't know if I have that video, but you can find it out there. He starts taking on water in space, and we bought it, right? Everyone's like, "Sure, no problem." That was a bubble, right? Look at it. Bloop, 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 bloop. If you doubt that's a bubble, what? I mean, then you're never gonna make the connection. You're just stuck drinking the Kool-Aid. Okay, that was a bubble. If you doubt it's let's look for some more bubble. Oh, there went some bubbles. That's a bubble. There's some bubbles there. Some more bubbles. Another bubble. Another bubble. Some more bubbles. But they release damage control videos, and they go, "It was a coolant leak." That's what they say. They'll let. If you look, and I don't have that, but I don't save the ones where they try to. But it's clearly bullshit, right? They just happen to be out there doing some work on something else, and while they're working on something else in another area, the NASA space station, right, which has no problems. It's out in space. It's flying through fucking space, man. But it had a coolant leak, right? And that's NASA's explanation. Well, he's out there doing work, and god damn it, had a coolant leak. Just, you know, it's the space station, but it's all right. You know, we just use, you know, aluminum pipes and shit too, right? Got some PVC here or there. It's got some, you know, some PVC glue. It was a little bit loose. I don't know what they're thinking, but yeah, it was just a coolant leak. We get those, a freon leak. All right, let's see what this one's about. I don't know if I played that whole one or not, but water's harmless. Here's the thing. Look, bubbles are just floating away. She has no regard. There's no one else there, just the cameraman. It's like, oh, let it go. It's okay. Look, she's just gonna smack the what's left. She's just gonna throw it. It's funny. There's no now in other NASA videos. There's this guy brushing his teeth, and he's like, we have to be very careful. We have to put it into a towel. This is like one of the Russian cosmonauts. And we have to be very careful that the water doesn't go anywhere. It's very sensitive. Electronic equipment everywhere. And it's okay where she's at, because none of this is real. The background is just a screen. It's just a video screen background. She's in a room somewhere, suspended on wires. And you just saw green screen and augmented reality. That's all you just saw, right? I mean, how do you not care that you and they do it again and again and again, right? But people start catching little things like this. They're so concerned on this lady floating right and her hair looking right and all these things. Sometimes they forget the basics. You know, it's like, where's the water going? You don't know where it's at now. It's just floating around. This is the thing that keeps you alive. there's no ambulance coming to get you, and you're just flinging water all over the place. It's like a mouse in there. It just moves around freely. The fuck are they thinking? And where do you see that on Star Trek or Star Wars? Yeah, let me just spit out some water in the. Well, at least they have gravity, right? So it would go to the floor. They have like fake gravity systems or something. But here, no, we're not that far. That's coming next, right? This is gonna make the whole thing easier. They're gonna show us a circular space station, and it's gonna be spinning, and then they don't have to fake gravity anymore. They're gonna be like, now we've got gravity, so it's all cool. Now we just do it with green screen and no more zero-G planes. Clipped from Rock Mason's channel. So this guy, I borrowed it from him. He borrowed it from someone else. So credit to Rock Mason. What are we watching here? Her hair, right? That's hairspray, guys. And this is a zero-G plane, right? This is her normal hair. This is her. That's her right there. Does her hair on the zero-G plane, this is what hair looks like in space. Okay, look, see when she moves around? This is her hair, people. Do you understand? That's how hair moves in space. It goes up and down, and it has no weight. It's not hard. When she turns her head on a zero-G plane, the hair doesn't move at the same on the same axis as the head, right? In zero gravity or on a parabolic plane, you would turn your head and the hair would follow, right? But here, this is hairsprayed. So as she turns her head, it's like a helmet. A helmet doesn't follow behind. It turns with, because it's all hardened. Everything operates on the same axis, okay? Well, this is hairspray. When she turns her head, the hair moves. It even bounces back. It's like so, this is so much bullshit. If you can't see that, I can't help you, okay? There's not a lot of clues. There's only a few clues, because you got the greatest minds in the world fooling you, right? It's fucking NASA. They got their budget this year is $56 million a day. $56 million a day. A day. I'm not sure if you're grasping that. And all they got to do is pump out CGI video, and you're willing to accept this. They don't even have to do some fucking high quality shit. Gravity was better. The movie Gravity was better. It was better, right? 2001 Space Odyssey was better. This is fucking hairspray. If you can't see that, there's no sense in finishing my video. I can't help you. Again, every time you see this lady in space on a zero-G plane, everyone's hair looks normal. It acts like you expect it would act. Okay. Now, these are quote-unquote training planes, but everyone, the consensus is, which again I'd have to agree, is that they have these planes kitted out. Just like this right here. It's the same. The planes are much bigger than this. You've got rows and rows. Have you ever flown overseas? Have you? I have. You got people laying down here, people laying down here, people laying down here. You can have two of these setups along that hole. And now they've got the Airbus. I've never even been on an Airbus. It's got upstairs. They've got cabins. It's ridiculous up there. They got like a club, right? Like a bar. You can go. The size of planes. They can absolutely do, zero-G footage. Now this is bullshit, because her hair is hairsprayed. All right, that's not parabolic right there. Well, you can't hear this one. It's too long. I'm just gonna explain what it is. It's that's the singer of Bare Naked Ladies, great band. That's Chris Hadfield, and he's a NASA shill, and he's talking with the lead singer of Bare Naked Ladies in real time. He says, "Hey, Chris, are you ready?" Chris goes, "Yeah, I'm ready, man." No delay. Now, there's no sense in playing the rest, but people come back and go, "Well, it was edited. It was edited, and he's setting the tempo from space." I understand. Yeah, and that's fair enough. It's possible, but Show that, NASA. Don't be, if that's really the reality, and you can fake it anyway. Just at least fake it, you know. Just keep up the same, keep the same. But there's no split. There's no break in continuity. Okay, like it pretty much looks like it's filmed and the camera's just changing angles. And I don't know if this was live or not. I'd love to find out if this was live. But anyway, definitely not on a plane. Why did I say that? Some of these things I label, I don't even know why. I haven't looked at all. Some of these I haven't seen in a while. I've got so many. We're not going to make it through nearly any of them. They can't stop themselves from moving backwards. That's the problem. So they're saying, I think I remember this. I think what this is about is they're saying that the space station is accelerating, and they're being left behind in space, right? Like that's what they're saying right now. The space station is accelerating, and we're in space, so we're being left behind, right? That's what happens on a zero-G plane too. That's interesting. That's exactly what you see on a zero-G plane. Anyway, let's go further. Oh, the good old disappearing mic cord. Somewhere we saw that one. Okay, now this is the full motion mode. Okay, full motion mode is when they have something the length of a plane, the length of the IS space station, and clearly. Now, and here's another thing. This is what I think they do. Is you go, well, her hair, if she's in zero-G, her hair looks the same as it did on Earth. Right. Well, they do that for continuity. We saw a video of her on a zero-G plane and what her hair looked like. It looked a million times better, right? This is some bullshit. But by hairspraying their hair when they're in a zero-G plane that does these parabolic trips, these parabolic dives, they can maintain continuity. So if you've been in, that's terminology you'll hear if you're in the, you know, if you've worked on movie sets, is maintaining continuity. Now, here's the thing. In this, whenever they're in front of a stationary background, they're just sitting there talking, which it's always one of two things. It's like one or two or three of them just sitting there with a background. They're stationary. Those are the ones they can do for an hour. 2 hours, all day. They can do it all day. It's no big deal because it's just green screen and they're just in a room on Earth somewhere. These are the ones that they can only do for up to a minute because that's how long the plane can do the parabolic dive. So the problem is there's this sound. Okay, whenever they're doing the extended mode where they can do it as long as they want because they're not on an airplane, there's no jet engine sound. But when they do this mode, there's no way to hear her talk and not hear the jet engines. You can't hide it, right? So let's listen. I'm going to flip. This is going to take me a second. I'm going to flip over the audio here. I'm going to cut my audio. Now listen. I'm going to play this.
I'm going to put a filter on this thing. She's going to sound like a chipmunk. It's going to be sped up. You're going to hear the sound of jet engines. You're going to see transitional periods where the plane has to gain its altitude again and drop all over again. So they do a transition like that one, and you think, oh, it's just editing. They're just shortening the video. No, this is for the fraud. Now she's in the zero-G environment again, so they can continue.
But you can sleep in any orientation. I have it sleeping, feeling like I'm standing up right now, but like you saw, I'm on the floor, but it doesn't matter. I've got a couple little toys, I've got some books, I've got some clothes, and other things. And just for reference, that's one sleep station. This one's another. All right, come on back. There's more to show you. Vegetables, cereals, bread, snacks, and that's a good place. That's where you find all the candy. Side dishes, and then some little power bars just in case. So we have all this type of food. Some of it is dehydrated for a barbecue beef brisket. Pretty yummy. Not only is this food made in the U.S., but we also have food here from Japan with fluff and utters, and so I got sent up some fluff so I could make my fluff and utter with peanut butter. So we have a lot of food up here, no problems. So this reminds us of our roots.
Hello, I'm Sunny Williams. I'm up here on the International Space Station. Now, I'm going to say where we are. So right now, we're in the Japanese laboratory, and I was flying through space like this. My left hand would be where the Japanese laboratory. So I'm inside. It's sort of like a little phone booth, but it's pretty comfortable.
All right, so without playing the whole video, it's a long video, but there's been careful analysis, really careful analysis done by people, and it's explained to me why. Now, if you don't believe me, do the research yourself. Go pull a video off of NASA's website where they're doing extended mode, and I'm sure they've put noise filters on these. I'm sure but you can only hide so much. I'm sure this is actually hidden to the best of their ability. I'm confident of that, right? Because I deal with that too. We do it. Anyone who does audio editing, if you've dealt with even Audacity, right? Like you can capture frequencies and mask those out to a good extent. But take the extended mode, speed it up. It makes it more obvious when you speed it up. You don't hear any jet engines, okay? And what the real giveaway, another real dead giveaway, is when you speed up the full motion mode. Yes, you hear the jet engines, but as in certain areas of the plane, it gets louder. Like as you get closer to the jet engines, kind of makes sense, doesn't it? So again, watch them. I know it's hard to believe. I know, but I can promise you'll see what everyone else sees, okay? That NASA is lying. There's no question about it. You can't come to any other conclusion, all right? Some more disappearing mic cord. Some FlatHeadPolitics already did this one. He's got some great the background music. I should let you hear it. It's hilarious. I guess this guy did it. I want you to hear that. It's so good. All right, so sometimes audio makes all the difference, right? But a little bit of background music really sets the tone. Okay, here's the problem with this, and I wish I would have showed more now. Sometimes I cut my clips down too small, and you don't think about it until you're going to explain to someone what's going on. Now, green screen, augmented reality. Here's the thing, if you watch this full clip, which is out there, again, hit me up. I'll share I'll find the original sources if you have doubts. Okay, these three astronauts right here, there are transitions. You have this everything that you see. There is one image, right? That serves as the background. They're placed on top of that as a foreground overlay. All right. Now, to give a better illusion of reality, so are several objects. Now, imagine, if you will, that this guy, this object, and this object, and maybe, I don't know this one. The foreground objects are cut out using green screen so that they can bump these from time to time. And it really looks real because they're interacting. It gives you the illusion that they're interacting with the entire, space station or whatever you want to call this thing. I like to call it the holodeck now. So when this top layer, like maybe they turned it off too soon, they're saying bye, and like maybe you got two guys, like two controllers, right, who are like, and one guy flips the switch a little too early. I don't know. I'm not sure how the process happened. I just know these guys are saying bye, and someone turned off, or for whatever reason, coincidentally, the top layer, which is what everyone believes, as do I, having some experience with video editing and green screen, chroma key. This is exactly what would happen. Now watch. Not only does that layer, see, boom, that layer, now look, even that little cage thing flipped out. See that? Because that's what. Now nothing in the background. See, it's only the items that they could bump and touch. So those were what was cut out and placed on the screen, and where they're melting away, you're seeing green screen, remnants of green screen in the background. Okay, that's a giveaway. If you can't see that, I don't know what to tell you. You know, oops. Back to that one again. All right, overlay fail. Let's turn that off. There's no other way to explain that, what's going on right here. When you have specific people, the term you'll use, and if you've worked with video editing or watching, you've experienced it, right? Compression artifacting is when you're watching a video with too little bandwidth, or that's a good contributor. You'll get these compression artifacts, right? But it's never specific items. Like, this is item specific. Like, the background between them doesn't do it, right? It's nothing around them does it. It's only where they were standing, because that's the layer that shut off. Okay, even the rack specifically, like the rack flipped out, right? Because the rack was a foreground item that was put in there. If you can't see that, I can't help you. That is green screen editing. That's green screen overlay. That's chroma key overlay, right? There's no other way that happens. If you think it does, I don't know what to tell you. Then you've got cognitive dissonance, and there's no hope for you. You are blind, and you will never see reality. The true reality is that is edited. And if they're in space, it shouldn't be edited. And why are they not in space? It's really not a big deal. The space station's supposedly only at 250 miles up. That's not a big deal, right? That's low Earth orbit. The moon was 238,000 miles away. We're talking about 250 miles. If that's there, what's the problem? Why are we faking all this ISS footage? I'd love to know. Okay, here's a good one if you haven't seen. Now, some of these are older, some of these are newer, right? Some of these are 15 years old. This is obviously an older one, I can tell by the quality, but this is a scuba tank, right? This guy was being hidden. He's obviously there for safety in case something goes wrong with the actor knots. But sure enough, here's an actor knot, and that is a scuba tank, right? That's a scuba tank, and I wish I'd cut more of this clip. I mean, sometimes you don't realize it, but sometimes it's better when you have more than just the offending. But that is a scuba tank, and you never see. You could say, well, that was an astronaut. No, they would have put him. And look, remember. Here's another thing. Remember the God dang it, the word's always eluding me. The airlock, right? There's no inside airlock here. This is the airlock. The canvas airlock. It's made out of Spider-Man web. I don't know. It's a canvas airlock. Amazing. All right. FlatHeadPolitics, always putting out good stuff. This guy he kicks. This is augmented reality. The ball isn't real, right? He kicks it, but look. This is all green screen because now right here, it came back. It bounced off of nothingness. Let's play it back. He kicked it. He caught it with his hand a little bit. The other guy goes to touch it. But the pass-through area, where it should have went into the other room. Again, I cut that off too soon, but it's all right. Just play it back. Where it should have went it should have went into the other room. Boom, but somehow it bounced off of nothing. There was nothing there. There was absolutely nothing there. He kicked it. The other guy misdirected it, but it went farther back and then forwards. It bounced off the reason that can happen is because 2 feet behind them is a green screen. It might be a green wall. It could be a steel wall. It could be a wooden wall. It could be a cloth. Nonetheless, it's what we call a green screen, or it could be a blue screen. Regardless of the color, it's chroma key technology. And it bounces off of that, right? It hit whatever that wall is and it bounced off. Let's see here. Oh, this guy. So they ask him to do a somersault. He does a somersault, but watch. Tell me, watch right now. Dunk. Now you hear in the audio, let's hear it. You hear like a click or something like I'm going to stop talking. So sorry, I was talking, forgot to unmute myself. I could do that again and again, but I think you get the point, right? He shouldn't have sped up. There's he kind of fell, and they ran with it. They thought, well, it's not that noticeable.
Up here you can.
What do we got here? Space station is clearly underwater, right? Oh, there went a bubble. You can also see the distortion from water, right? You can see that, how it's distorting. Why is that? Why are there waves? See that? We don't see that in other space videos. Does space do that, or does it not do it? I don't understand. Should there be this distortion here? Should there be bubbles floating away? I don't know. Looks like it's underwater to me. This right here is interesting, right? This was it was a video from the ESA, ESA, European Space Agency YouTube channel. It's an official video, still on their channel. I looked just the other day, and it's called Barycentric Balls in Space. Barycentric Balls in Space. It was a classroom demonstration that NASA did, or ESA did. But what's now, for those of you going, no, it's all real. Everything NASA does is real. All right, explain this. She said, I'm gonna give you some audio here.
Enlist the help of a friend, Paxi. You might know her. This model of the Earth. And let's enlist the help of a friend, Paxi. You might know her. Paxi, hello Paxi. Let's use this model of the Earth. And let's enlist the help of a friend, Paxi. You might know her. Paxi, hello Paxi.
Okay, does anyone see a problem with that? This is NASA, or ESA, they're in the space station, and she just made something, that's augmented reality. That's an admission of augmented reality. Why is NASA using green screen and augmented reality, and they're admitting it? This is the beautiful thing. Let me tell you why this is beautiful, in case you don't know why this is beautiful for NASA. Because now they have deniability, right? No one has to go to court. They said, well, we were open that we're using CGI and augmented reality. We never denied, we never hid that. They even put the little blue beams like there. That's the teleportation beams, okay? Those are the teleportation beams. And they did that on purpose, because if in the future there's a trial, or whatever you want to call it, if there's a trial where the people, I don't know, rise up, take over the government, and say we're gonna go after the people that did this. The higher ups in NASA are gonna say we was very open that we were using green screen and augmented reality, and that's proof right there. There was an object not there, and they just put it there. Okay, so don't tell me NASA doesn't use green screen. Don't tell me they don't use augmented reality. This right here is undeniable proof. You can't, this is fact, okay? This one you can't argue with. So is it okay? Are they allowed to do that? There was no written, they put it out there in a way that, well, it is. So they can just say, well, it was. We did it all the time. I don't know. I don't like that they did this, and for me, it's an admission of guilt or a cover-up, but nonetheless, you can't deny that they're using this technology and how well it works, right? They're showing you right here, there was nothing there, and she just grabbed it out of thin air. Okay, if that's not augmented reality, I don't know what is. Now, this guy Thomas Pesquet, he's rolling this ball, but his fingers can't touch it. Now I know that's hard to see. I'm going to see if there's a better angle. Oh, here's something that happened, and this is the channel I got this off of, and I like giving credit when credit's due, and when I remember. I would give everyone credit. Again, I'm not taking credit for any of this. I had nothing to do. I'm just a guy who's figuring it out and thought I could give you another take on it, maybe another perspective. Maybe you like the sound of my voice. Maybe you like I don't know. I'm not very funny. I'll try to stop. This came from a channel called Bling Bling The BSS of the ISS, and Bling Bling is a lady that she has busted out SpaceX. She has done some really good work. I do like her channel. I follow her. I follow Jeranism. I follow Jaron Campanella with his channel. His channel is called Jeranism. I follow Rob Skiba, of course, Eric Dubay. There are some other people that have that have done some FlatHeadPolitics. Another one. There are so many. Then there's so many good ones. And again, there's a couple shills. There's a couple out there that are just there to sound so stupid, but come across as serious that you have no option but to say this. And if you come across that first, your chances are gone. And you have to make sure you're making it to the right channels. If you haven't, if you don't know who to watch, I'll tell you now. Jaron Campanella, Jeranism. Rob Skiba, Bling Bling, FlatHeadPolitics. Those are my four favorites. There are more, but off the top of my head, those four come to me. There's some really good ones, but they're not in it for the money. Jaron, the reason I kind of gravitate to Jaron is he just does such a great job with production. I don't have the time. I don't know how he has the time, the budget. I don't know. Obviously, he takes donations. And he's putting that into the production, which I appreciate because, we're here to learn, and it's great when people can spruce it up a little bit. He has some great intros, outros, the beats. He throws some beats in there. He's made some funny skits. If you haven't seen it's a great evidence. Look, there's a video called Boris and Bertha that he did. It's a skit. He took video of some astronauts in space that was, official video, and he voice-overed it. I think he did it. I think it was just him. I'm pretty sure it was. And it is absolutely hilarious. I've watched it several times. Anytime I come across it, and I do time and time again, I can't help but watch it again and add another comment because he's a funny guy. He does his due diligence. He does thorough productions. So props to Jeranism. Rob Skiba, really, really good knowledge. More of a format like mine where he just, camera's on and he's going to talk. And I don't think I'm as smart as these guys. I'm just an average dude who's trying to give you my take on it, right? And I'm trying to add to the numbers. I'm trying to... I think when you look at this from a religious standpoint, which may or may not come to you, right? You may not go down that road. I wasn't religious, and I don't think I never saw myself becoming religious. I was always a good person. I lived by the golden rule. If anything, I was like a kind of a Buddhist. I never would want to harm anyone. I would never steal from anyone. I would never hurt anyone. I don't think there's anyone out there who would accuse me of differently. But for me, when I started figuring all this out, it was, I could only turn to religion, only. I mean, everywhere I looked, all the religious scriptures that I read, they lined up perfectly, exactly. Everything that I was coming to believe, everything that I was verifying with empirical, repeatable evidence matched up with scripture. And it's hard to deny. I mean, even if it didn't match up to scripture, let's say there were no scripture. Let's just say we're underwater and we're a bubble, like the firmament separates the waters above from the waters below, right? And there's this dome. I don't care if there's water involved or not. If there's a barrier keeping us from going in space and we can't get to it with today's technology, and believe me, we should. with the technology we have. There's a barrier. Call it what you will. Don't call it a firmament. Call it a firmament. There's a barrier. And if you get to where I'm at, if you make it that far, then you say, okay, space is complete bullshit. All the videos we've seen have been CGI. There's no proof we've been in space. How can you come to any other conclusion? Now, I'm not saying you'll come to the conclusion I came to. Maybe you won't come to religion. That's great. I'm not pushing religion on anyone. I'm not pushing flat earth on anyone. I'm not here telling you you're wrong, your belief system's wrong. You don't have to agree with me. I'm not going to dislike you for whatever belief system you have. I'm not going to slam you. I'm not going to make fun of you. I'm not going to, I'm just here to have a discussion. And if you want to ask me more questions, I'm happy to. But I'm just sharing you what I came across and sharing the videos and kind of shortening them that, you know, kind of stood out to me. Let's see. So what happens on this? With blue, oh, the blue screen evidence. It's on the edges of the ball. It kind of messes up, right? If you were to look, I wish I could zoom in. Oh, there it went. Now with my VL, I'm just using VLC Player, but with VLC Player, I don't have the ability to zoom in. But the edges of the ball, maybe if you save this video and you zoom in, you'll see the edges of the ball. I believe this is I'm really confident that this is a CGI ball. It's a augmented reality. In another video, another clip, you could see he didn't really touch it. And yeah, it just, again, it glitches out on the edges of it and you can see it. And it's because the colors of the ball match the colors of his shirt. So you lose the round edges. Not that great of one. There's better videos. The transmission delay here. I'm gonna stop talking for a second and let you watch and listen. And then I'll tell you what I saw.
We should hear it in the room very shortly.
Station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event? Yes, we're ready for the event. Please call station for a voice check.
Okay, here we go. Hello, Commander Fisher and Commander Witsit and Colonel Fisher. It is an honor for all of us and those online to join you and all of your colleagues at NASA in the first ever live 4K stream from space. What is the ISS position in orbit right now? "11 seconds.
Well, we're just passing over Baja, California, and we're heading in an arc over North America. By the time we finish talking, we'll be over Central Africa."
Wow. Amazing, amazing. Before we learn more about NASA's
Central Africa.
Wow. Amazing, amazing.
Central Africa.
Wow. Amazing, amazing.
All right, so if you didn't catch that, there was a 11-second delay. Now this is recent, right? This is a recent video, and for the host of the TV, the first ever 4K video, right, to the ISS space station supposedly, and we've got an 11-second audio delay, which is really sad because President Nixon had a faster. The delay was not that long when he talked to the moon, to Neil Armstrong. in the Apollo 11 moon landing, live on TV. I don't understand. We kind of went back in technology, 50, 60 years later. So I don't know. I don't get it. NASA's always going backwards in technology. I just don't get it. 50 years later and we're regressing still. I think we're going to have like, I don't know. We're going to be like the Wright brothers pretty soon. We're just going to have like pedal planes. But so the guy asked a question, and she responded, Peggy Whitson, the astronaut who's been in space for 666 days. And when the crowd went, woo, this actor on the right, he went, woo, with them, right? Like all of a sudden the time delay was gone. Now, if you can't see that, again, play it back. This is the video. Just rewind. Go back to the section. Play it back. Play it back. Play it back. He did. There's no question about it, right? He's smiling with it. He's laughing about it. This is what, if you see it any other way, I understand, right? You're not ready to accept. When I first went down this road, I went deep. I went balls deep. 3 months. I went balls deep for 3 months, and day in, day out, morning, all night, I was watching these videos. And then I took a break. I was like, this is affecting my life, right? My life, my kids. I'm not spending time with my kids. I'm late to work. I'm going to lose my job. Stuff was going bad, right? I was operating at half capacity. My brain was shorting out because I had no sleep. And I took a break. I took a long break. And in my head, I just said, maybe, hey, maybe it is. I don't, one way or, what do I care? Maybe it is. Not a big deal. And then some time went by, months, half a year, I don't know. I'd see another video, I'd watch it, and then I got pulled back in, and I just kind of keep staying up on it, Some nights I do, I'll put in 5, 6, if I have the time. I try not to let it affect my sleep schedule as much anymore, but sometimes it happens. You're always looking for the next, you're always, when you're in this, you take a side at some point, especially if you see the religious side of this like I did. You have to take a side. Look at Jim Carrey. Look at B.O.B., right? They're not crazy. They're not dumb people. These aren't dumb people that got fooled, right? These are guys who hang out with whoever they want. Listen to Jim Carrey talk. Tell me if he sounds like a dumb person. He came flat out and said, you can look it up. It's still out there. It's not taken down. You can go to his Twitter page. The earth is flat. He's been saying this for decades. He knew, right? And he took a stance. And when he first came out with it, he did it in little jokes, He did it in making mockeries of it, and that's okay. But when you come out with seriousness and you say, okay, guys, I'm not joking. It's fake. This isn't Dumb and Dumber. Oh my God, we went to the moon. He's not making a mockery of it. Now he's coming out and saying, people, we have to take a stance. You have been indoctrinated. This is my belief, all right? You can call me stupid. I was where you were. I had your education. I am an intelligent person, all right? I've had some pretty impressive jobs. I don't have the need to brag about them. But yeah, I'm arguably smarter than most. I spent a lot of time on this, and there are hundreds, if not thousands, of what for me is undeniable evidence. It's some of it's arguably questionable, but when you see enough, you can't deny it, all right? If you go out and look and you're willing to watch it all, if you want the truth, if you want the answer, and you shouldn't just make a mockery of it. Because if people knew, if enough people knew, we could change things. You could change it. If enough people knew, you could vote someone into office. You could, if nothing else, get a law enacted that said if you, take part in fooling people about the cosmology, then it's a mandatory, it's treason. Make that a treasonous offense and add some stipulation on that says any inheritance that your children got will be stripped from you, so that these people know that when they get busted, not only them but their children are going to lose everything that they lied for, everything that they lied for, right? Because parents would do it. They'd say, well, I lived a great life, okay, so I take the rap, but my kids, I live on through my kids, right? No, you ended up in making them poor. Let them know that that's the risk they run, right? People have said, okay, let's take a little break from the video. There's a few more. I think I've laid down about an hour and 15 minutes so far, but people have said, let's look at Donald Trump. And I said this in my last video. If you're watching this for the second time, I'm sorry for being repetitive. Some guys may not watch the video. They may watch the second, but I think it's pretty powerful when President Trump said, years from now, people are going to say, how did we do it without space? And in my opinion, he was clearly, it was an odd phrase to say. How did we do it without space? It was a double entendre. And it was after he enacted the Space Force. It was like some type of ceremony for that. And how did we do it? Not without the Space Force. How did we do it without space? Well, how did we? There is no space. There's no proof of space. And there's more proof that there's a dome and flat Earth, right? When you go further and start, because what happens later after you disprove NASA, then you disprove space. So let me tell you the order it goes in. At least the order it went for me. You start with NASA, and you say, well, damn, NASA is nothing but a lie. That you come up that everything they produce is fake. Even to today, it's still seeable, right? Then you start looking at other space agencies, and we're the leader, so obviously if we're fake, they're fake. But it's even worse. Like when you look at their stuff, it's like, yeah, they're fake. Obviously, China's not growing fucking cotton from cotton seeds and on the backside of the moon. They just want to be in the mix. The poor guys, But so then you come up with all the space agencies are fake. And from there, you come up with everything we've gotten from space has come from a space agency or a space agency owned or government owned. And mind you, NASA is government owned. It's an independent government space agency, which is weird. The terminology of it's weird. It's really unclear. Yeah, I have to go look it up again. That may not be verbatim, but it's basically I need to memorize the terminology, but they put independent in the word. They're funded by our government, but they're independent. And I don't even know how that happens. How are you funded by our government yet independent? It's like, well, they're autonomous but funded by, not owned by or operated by, but completely funded by. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Why do we have that situation? But after you kind of come to the conclusion that, okay, well, all the, Goddard Space Center and, all these telescopes, the Hubble telescope and all this, it's all NASA operated and owned, and everything that we can get with civilians, for lack of a better word, can get their hands on is nothing like, it looks more like shimmering lights underwater when you zoom in on a star. And maybe I'll show those to you in a little bit. I did on the last video. You come to the conclusion that space is fake as we've been told it. Like you can't believe anything about space. So what comes next? If we haven't been to space and there's possibly and arguably no space, well, then you start looking at the shape of the planet, because space is what verified the shape of the planet. All of a sudden, space Earth, you start listening to their arguments. You're like, wait a minute, is the Earth flat? Well, there's this really weird thing called Antarctica, and we can't go there. You can't go explore it. Nobody does. There's no movies on it. There's no explorations out there. There's no, it's funny. We've done more exploration in fake space and in the oceans, but Antarctica's off limits. And there's the Antarctic Treaty, and all these countries, like 50 some odd countries, signed off on it and said it's not even up for debate for 40 more years. It's not even, when they signed it, it was like a 80-year agreement and said, we all agree that no citizen can go here for 80 years. What the fuck? Right? What the fuck? What's up with Antarctica? There was this admiral that went there, Admiral Byrd. You can see his videos. He talks about it. He says it's the most resource-rich continent in all the world. There's oil. There's all these. There's mountains that are green. On the other side. He was saying the things he was talking about, the resources he was talking about, he was saying, yeah, well, then all of a sudden that's it. No one's been back. No one's traversed it. And when you start to look into that, you start to look into Antarctica, you're like, what the fuck, man? Why? It just, it seems to give credibility to the flat earth theory, right? So let's look at another here. Let's go back. I don't want to get too drawn out on that. Now, they even asked this lady, this is really funny. I just cut it off when I saved these clips, and I saved the part that I think is important, right? But the guy who's interviewing him from Earth, he says, "Are you guys really in space?" And she points at her hair, like, "Of course I am. Like, this is space hair. Space hair goes up. It goes up like this, right? It doesn't go out. It doesn't flow." And again, remember what I talked about with a helmet? It's a helmet does not follow the head. It moves with the head, as if it's an extension of the head, as if there's, that her hair operates like a helmet. Okay. I love it how she points at her head. See it? Now they always wear chains. They always wear necklaces, right? And that's augmented reality. And but look at that. Boom. You tell me he didn't grab a wire. Boom. Look at that. He pulled him back over. Like, look, you're getting too far away, buddy. I'm gonna help you out. And look at his face. He's like, motherfucker. He's, you fucking retard. Like, this guy did his job right? He did everything good. This guy's helping him out over here, and he's like, "Oh, sorry, didn't mean to push you away there, buddy. Let me just grab your wire and pull you over." This guy looks down like, "Are you fucking idiot?" Right? Like, the look he gives. He didn't do anything wrong. He did his job just right. This guy's trying to help him out, make him look more like zero gravity-ish. And his face when he did that, he's like, hey, motherfucker, you're going to get me killed. Fucking, you're going to get one of my kids killed or some shit. You fuck up here. Man, I don't know if you know, the first astronauts, man, they burnt up in the cockpit of a not, whatever you call it, not the cockpit, but the module at the top of the rocket. Like, this guy, I think it was Ed Grisham. I think that's his name. Don't quote me on that. But he held a press conference on his own, and he said the rocket was a lemon, and he even hung a lemon on the rocket, right? Like, this guy was being all vocal about the shit. Apparently he didn't know he was getting ready to take part in some fake ass shit. Like, he wasn't. And I think that's what goes on. I think the astronauts, like, one of the things people always say is they go, man, 400,000 people have worked with NASA. You think they all keep the secret? You couldn't do it. Well, no, they don't, right? When the military went into World War II, do you think they all knew that our president knew that the Japanese were going to attack Pearl Harbor? They did. Watch Robert McNamara, the ex-secretary of state to the president at the time. He admits it in Fog of War. There's a documentary called Fog of War. He admits, he said the president knew they were going to be attacked. He said they knew it, right? But he let it happen because we didn't have the support of the people to go to war, and we needed that support. So he knew that if he let the Japanese attack, that he'd have the support. Now, that's some fucked up shit. For those of you people who think 9/11's fake, right? Or that's just a conspiracy. No, we do it all the time, right? The Gulf of Tonkin incident, right? And I know you guys have already been down these roads. I'm just repetitious. That's nothing. But my point is, just because you're in the military, you don't know about the Gulf of Tonkin incident. Just because you're in the military, you have no idea what's going on at the upper levels. You're compartmentalized. You think you're really doing your job. They gave you a job to do. Report this, do this, be here. There are hundreds of thousands of jobs that can be done, and have no idea that nobody's in space. So moving on, this is probably one of the more damning videos though. This chick with her fucking helmet hair, the hairspray, and then this dude. This is a 2-for-1 here. This is probably the best video, and he just grabs him, boom. Look, their shirts are always tucked in because you can't make a shirt hang right. They'd go upside down and the shirt would fall down, right? It's got to be tucked in. It has to be. There's nothing you can do about that. So, the men always have short hair that doesn't move, and the women have hairspray hair. And notice that they can all chill out here. You can have 4 people in the scene because it's extended mode, and there's no jet engines in this one. But let them go into the full motion mode, and then you're going to have the jet engines. Now tell me that's not some fucked up shit, all right? If you're not smart enough to see that, okay, or if you're in denial, I don't know what to tell you. You're just in denial, okay? You can be in denial. That's great. But the evidence was there for you, all right? You weren't, you didn't have the balls to take a stance, all right? You couldn't come out, but you got to understand, this is a religious war. And you're going to be, you may even be judged for that, because ignorance, not knowing, like, you hear about, well, if you didn't know there was a God, that's understandable. These sins, you denied God, but man, there were people trying to tell you, right? People were trying to give you the evidence. You weren't having it. You weren't hearing it. That's why the flat earth is such a big fight right now, that the flat earthers are losing, right? It's reinforced in every movie we watch. Universal, boom, Earth zipping around. Everything that comes out from Hollywood, MTV, boom. It was when they give you the award, it's an astronaut. When they give you every MTV episode that started, it was a flag on the moon with an astronaut. Every movie is. They always reinforce it, right? All movies are about space. I don't mean that was wrong to say all movies are about space, but the ones they don't do, I'm not going to do justice about this. I'm going to leave that for later when I can rephrase it better. But the oligarchy, the cabal, the evil ones in power, they are fine with sci-fi about space. They support it. They probably sponsor it. They probably, bankroll it. The ones they don't support are the real ones, like the remakes of what happened in space, remakes of going to space in actuality, remakes of the Apollo missions. There's been 2 movies, The Right Stuff and the one with the Apollo mission where it failed and they had to circle the moon. They were losing their oxygen. I can't remember the name of that movie, but that really good actor was in it who played Forrest Gump, and his name's eluding me right now. Anyway, they frown on those movies. They don't want to do a lot of those. They want sci-fi. So what's in this right here? This is movements in space, right? You can see here 0G plane, space station, 0G plane. But look at the hair. It's right. Is it square? Is it up in all directions? No, it's pretty natural. Now, look at this footage. This is official NASA footage. Tell me what happened here. You explain this and you win. I will tap out. If you can explain this, I will tap out, okay? Because they show several astronauts in space, and let's just watch it. Boom. Boom. That's official footage, all right? That's not fake footage. That's the International Fake Station right there. What just happened with gravity? So you can pay for this experience. You can go up in the 0G plane, right? You can see if there were such a thing as zero gravity. Well, we can recreate it. Look at this fuck. See this fuck, Brian, whatever the fuck. He's a fuck. I'd love to fucking beat his ass. I shouldn't say. You know what? You're on the evil side. Honestly, they know. When you're at a certain level, when you have a certain level of fame, you've been inducted. You are in the system. You're given the knowledge, right? You're enlightened, whatever you want to call it. They know, right? Neil deGrasse Tyson, he knows. If you've made it into Hollywood and you're having photos with the president, you're in, man. You're inducted. And you have a duty at that point in time. They've chosen sides, right? They accepted wealth and fame in exchange for lying, and probably under some greater good cause, right? Like maybe I don't know. Maybe the astronauts, maybe Chris Hadfield isn't evil. Maybe. I'm on the doubting side. I'm sorry, because you're lying, right? Every astronaut is a liar. Buzz Aldrin's a liar. Neil Armstrong's a liar. And Buzz tried to admit. Buzz, he wants to do the right thing. It's obvious if you watched a lot of video on Buzz Aldrin. He wants to tell the truth, okay? But I'm sure they have leverage. I don't care who you are, unless you're an orphan that was never loved, okay? There's leverage on you. If it's the person that adopted you and took you in, if it's the girl you fell in love with, if it's the daughter you have, it's the son you have, it's your mom, your dad, if it's your dog, right? John Wick fucking flipped out when they killed his dog. My point is, there's leverage on you. Lots of leverage, more than likely. You piss them off, and more than likely the most unthinkable things in the world. I think one would befall you, would happen to you or someone you love, and they would probably make an example out of you. I'm sure that's what happens. People think about speaking out and real quickly change their minds. So there's this rule, when you've been inducted, then all bets are off. If you say something, then I think that if I'm not in the system, okay, this is like a religious battle, right? Like you've chosen to be evil. If you choose sides, if you sign away your soul in exchange for fame, you're young and dumb and you don't understand what you're signing up for. You can't change your mind later. You can, but you can't say anything. You want to try and dip out? Well, if you say anything, you got to pay the price. Now me, if this is a religious battle, I didn't sign anything. I'm free to say whatever I want. Me, Jaron, Rob, Skiba, we can yell all we want. But the guys that are the guys that are really in the know about all that's going on, the people in Hollywood, the actors that signed, like Angelina Jolie, Britney Spears, the ones that have admittedly, Eminem signed their soul away to the devil. Beyonce, Jay-Z, so many of them. Chris Brown. The list is endless. They want to tell you, but there's rules. They can't come out and say it. They can't. They can. There's probably very specific rules. This is just me guessing at this point in time. I have no proof of this, but just by observation, it would have to be something like this. Like, all you can do is drop hints. They have to be, there's like a guideline. Like, you can't blatantly say anything. If you want to, you can mask it. Like, look at Clinton, right? Clinton put in his book, he said, when I was younger, this carpenter was at my house doing work, and we were talking about the moon landing, and he said, isn't that unbelievable? It's a fake bunch of bullshit. This isn't in verbatim. This is I'm paraphrasing. And he said, later, after my time in the White House, I came to believe that maybe that guy wasn't so crazy. This is Bill Clinton, the president of the United States. It's in the book. Look it up. You don't believe me? Buy the fucking book. You want to argue with Bill Clinton? Do you want to argue with him? Now, he can't come out and say space is fake. He can't. But he doesn't want to go down as an idiot in history. He was a president. You'd go down as the idiot president, or you'd go down as one of the conspirators. If you say, well, I wanted to tell, at least I tried to tell, or at least I knew something was up, you kind of hide your ignorancy. You kind of protect your legacy to some extent, right? Man, Michio Kaku, he said, cosmology is off by a factor of 10 to the 120. He said, this is the greatest disparity between theory and experiment in the history of science. In the history of science. I just want to say that. I want to take a whole video and go in the history of science. Just have that playing as a beat in the background. 10 to the 120. This is a guy who would destroy his career if he came out and said space is a lie, right? Fucking everything we know. What's cosmology? What is cosmology, right? It's the makeup of the planets and stars, what we think they are, right? I'm not denying, plane. We live on a plane. We live on a planet, right? Those are stars. There are stars. We don't know what they are. I don't think they're suns, right? I think they're luminaries. That's what I think they are. I'm not saying I know what they are. I'm just asking, all you can do is make a deduction from what you've seen. I think the stars are luminaries. I think the sun and moon they do move with them. They do. And anyway, let's move on. What would it be like? Number 2, that was number 1. Parallax. Okay, this is parallax. Parallax is when, as you move through the stars or turn, even if this camera angle right here just turned left or right, okay, it's going to happen more in a minute. See the stars? See how they change their distances with each other? This shows you that there is distance between them, that there is dimension between them, okay? This is what you'd expect to see with a little gyration in space, with a little bit of turn, a little bit of rotation, okay? They show it in this video right here, just a little bit of gyration, but they always add in forward movement because that's the argument, right? They say, well, their argument is, there's a little rule that I like to use, as above, so below. Do you believe that? Answer the question before I tell you what I'm about to tell you. Do you believe as above, so below? I do. As above, so below. I believe that. Sounds like a good rule. Well, they tell us that the backdrop of space doesn't change because it's so far away that we can't even fathom. It's like trillions of miles to the next star. It might as well not even exist. It's so far away, but I don't care because there has to be that same amount of dimension between the next star and the other star and the other star and all those stars. And the light, it's not frozen. It's still moving. I don't care if I'm seeing light from 19 years ago, just a random number, from 50 years ago. If I move, the light doesn't follow me, okay? If I turn my head, the light doesn't stay in front of it can't change its angle. We see through refractions. We see light because we're looking at it, okay? I can visualize in my head. I may not be as good at explaining it, but I can tell you that we can't have the painting we have in the canopy of space rotating perfectly in circular patterns, all stars, not just the pole star. The pole star is not the only. The pole star on its own is an absolute impossibility. That's one impossibility. Every other star in space is the same impossibility. It just happens to be on a perfect circular. It's like we're going through a tunnel, right? But the tunnel's not moving. It's like we're looking at a tunnel, but and supposedly all these stars are going in different directions. That light would change. I understand it's fucking ridiculously far away if space were real, but it doesn't matter. We're still seeing it happen in real time. What I'm getting to my eyes right now would still be a playback from a billion years ago, whatever it is, 50 years ago. I don't care, however long it took that light to get here, it would react as if I'm seeing it at that point in time, and it's moving, okay? So I can't have a frozen picture. If you can't get that, they can't hide space. That's the one thing they can't hide. They'll never be able to hide the stars, and the stars are the most damning evidence. Where is it at? What's this one? Look at this. Look, this is what's above. That's like a plate turning, okay? Do you see any parallax there? Now this is what happens when you don't focus on the center, right? When you focus on the north star, the North Pole star, I don't know the name of it. You would see all the other stars spinning perfectly around it, which is like a bazillion impossibilities all wrapped up into one. But here, they're just filming random areas, and you can see that this canopy there's no parallax, which means none of these stars are moving in different directions, right? They're all traveling together. They're not traveling. They're frozen. None of them are traveling. The stars should never look the same ever. It should never look the same. We should never look up and see the same painting, the same picture, right? Because I don't care how far away they are, I should be getting a live video of that point in time. However long it took each star to get here, I should be seeing it as if it's the TV show of today, right? It's just a rerun. But there's no rerun going on. NASA's saying science is telling you, which, by the way, I like using this term Masonic. Maybe I don't use it right, but I like to use it because I associate Masons with, Masons do the dirty work of the Illuminati, of the Zionist Jews, right? I'm not saying, I said I'd say it sooner or later, but this is a war, right? And unfortunately, what I believe today, and I don't have proof of, but I think it's Zionists. I'm not, and again, look, there's extremist Muslims, there's extremist Christians. I'm not blaming Jews, okay? I'm not. I know Jews. I've hung out with some. I've got friends that are Jews. Don't misinterpret that. I don't think that your religion, you don't choose who you are, but there are, let me give you a number here. Take a guess at what percentage of the population is Jewish. Just take a guess. I'm going to tell you, not 1%, not 0.5%, not 1/4 of 1%. 0.2% of the population of the earth is Jewish. 0.2. 0.2. But they control everything. They control all the wealth. They control Hollywood. They control social media. Bill Gates is Jewish. The owners of YouTube, Jewish. The owner of Facebook, Jewish. Mark Zuckerberg, Jewish. All the people who run Hollywood, Jewish. Harvey Weinstein, Jewish. Look at all the big stars. The entire cast of Friends, Jewish. The entire cast of Seinfeld, Jewish. All the bankers, Jewish. The Rothschilds, Jewish. It's all 1% of our world is ran by Jews, and less than 90% of the wealth of our world is controlled by Jews. And 0.2% of our population is Jewish. Now, if you don't see there's a war there, right? See, most people in this world, we treat other people in this world, we don't say, well, you're not our religion, so I can steal from you. You're not our religion, so I can murder you. You're not our religion. Now, I'm not saying all Jews believe that, because there's this man. How'd we get on this subject? Because I'm an extreme conspiracist, right? And that's a road you may want to go down. You may want to message me about. There's a whole alternate history that you haven't heard about that's very, very possible. And Hitler, why did we have World War II, right? Hitler wanted the Jews out of his country. That's all he wanted. He didn't want war. He said it 8 times. I don't want war. I speak German. I sit there and listen to him talk. Oh Christ, sometimes I can think of it. I'm so bad with remembering things. The second I shut down this podcast, I'll forget the name of it. But the Geneva Convention, he offered, you can read it. You can read the lines where he offered. He said, if the Jews will just leave, I will pay for them to take their belongings back to wherever they want to go. Just leave Germany. That's all I'm asking you to do. Just leave. He didn't want war. When Hitler came to power, the Germans had been stripped. They were in a famine, right? They were in a depression. They were starving. And the Jews were rich beyond belief. And he was pissed off because they would steal the wealth from the people, right? Like the Jews only helped each other, and it was fine to do unethical things. But this comes back to the history. This is what makes it religious to me, is that the more you look down each road, it all starts to come together, okay? And if I offended anyone, I'm sorry. You can come hang out with me. If you're Jewish, I'd love to learn more. I'd love to pick your brain, right? Like, I know Jews that don't know any of this, right? And they're not. Being Jewish as a religion doesn't make you a bad person at all. And I have Jewish friends, and I'm not. So it's so hard. That's why it's hard to say who's behind this, because you implicate innocent people. Not all rectangulars are. Wait, how's it go? Wait, not all squares are rectang. No, not all rectangles. Not all squares are. No, squares aren't rect. Okay, I can't. I'm too tired. It's 2 a.m. Something about squares and rectangles. No, normally I can throw it out right there. But the point of it is that I don't think you're a bad person if you're a Jew. I think there's Zionist Jews and Jews that study the Talmud, which are rabbinic. They're rabbinic texts that rabbinic priests study, and those texts, which are not to be talking about, but again, rabbis do study them and they do teach them, right? Is that we're goyim? Is that anyone who's not a Jew is a goyim, and a goyim is lower than a goat. We're lower than a cow. We're lower than cattle. It's okay to kill. There's no sin in killing a goyim, and there's no sin in stealing from a goyim. It is okay to steal from a goyim. It's okay. This is in the Talmud, right? I can message me. I'll send you the passage. Okay. So, I think there is a war, and I think that I think that there's a group of people behind it, and I have an idea, at least I have a belief of who those people are. Richard Nixon, here we go. Richard Nixon's Richard, I misspelled that. Richard Nixon. This is from the Richard Nixon library. I actually went and pulled this one down. I wanted to make sure that I didn't, sometimes people will manipulate originals, right? That could happen. I like to get it from the source when I can. When I can find the source, I grab it. This I actually went to. Richard Nixon has a YouTube channel. It's the Richard Nixon something channel. And it's him talking with a 5 or 6 second delay to the moon in real time. This went down in history, right? This is undeniable. Now, this was, I don't know, 60, whatever year Apollo 11 was. And I don't know, 59, 60, 61, something like that. This is Richard Nixon talking to the moon in real time, talking to Neil Armstrong. And the problem with this is that, I've set up Wi-Fi's. I'm a router. I'm certified as a router engineer, and I've done plenty of routers, and I've done plenty of Wi-Fi networks and point-to-point networks, and worked with parabolic grid antennas, and just about I've worked with a Avaya router, with Avaya equipment, and I've worked with Cisco's equipment, and I've worked with universal broadband routers, UB, not the household equipment, but the big, massive $50,000, 4 and 6U devices like EBR 7000s. I can tell you that was impossible, what you're talking about. And I've seen electrical engineers. I've seen engineers pick apart the lunar module, the LEM, and it has 3 kilowatts, right? Total battery power. And it's not enough to run what all they've got going. The amount of power it would take to broadcast that signal to Earth, that phone call, is impossible. It can't happen. It cannot be. That's an impossibility. But beyond that, how were they maintaining? Show me the. First off, it's hard enough to aim a satellite, just a direct TV. Set up a direct TV at your house. I got one dish antenna, and I'm pointing it at a geostationary satellite in space, which means it's stuck. It's stuck in space. It doesn't move in relation to the planet. So here you've got this. Now, it's hard enough to lock onto that. But the moon is moving. It's moving. We can't, it's not spinning in relation to Earth, but it is moving around, okay? So I don't know at what speed off the top of my head the moon, but any speed is a problem, because now you have to know exactly what that is, because did anyone look at the lunar? Where's the antenna? They do have a tiny little antenna up there, but that antenna wouldn't work to shoot a line of sight Wi-Fi channel through the neighborhood, right? Like the whole thing's impossible. I don't care what you say. You're not going to convince me. All right. There was no communication that happened. Michio Kaku. Michio Kaku here. Let's hear it. Let's hear what he has to say. Hold on.
Crisis in cosmology. Usually there is a crisis in cosmology. Usually in science, if we're off by a factor of 2 or a factor of 10, we call that horrible. We say something's wrong with the theory. We're off by a factor of 10. However, in cosmology, we're off by a factor of 10 to the 120. That is 1 with 120 zeros after it. This is the largest mismatch between theory and experiment in the history of science.
Okay, did you get that? This is in regards to cosmology. This is what we're talking about. This is the video you're listening to. Michio Kaku is a smart guy. He gives lectures all around he's come to Jacksonville. He has books. He's on TV all the time. He's a theoretical physicist. He writes those crazy ass equations and that Einstein and other theoretical physicists look at and argue about, right? They like math makes sense to him on a really, really crazy level. He says, not just math, other things. He's obviously a smart guy. You don't make a name for yourself without that. He said, in regards to cosmology, it's off by a factor of 10 to the 120. And that's the greatest mismatch between theory and experiment in the history of science. Right? Now think of all the times that science has been dead wrong. Wrong, right? It's been wrong. He's saying this is the greatest mismatch. He's saying it's wrong, right? Like without trying to bury himself. Without trying to, why would you say something like this? It is the greatest mismatch ever. We have a crisis in cosmology. A crisis, right? I don't know how much longer this road can go on, right? The problem that NASA has, the problem that the governments have, is that technology is growing for us as well, not just governments, right? Not just, the reason there's a resurgence of flat Earth is because now we can do things. We can send balloons into space up 100,000 feet and it's perfectly flat. There's no curve, right? From the ISS, there's a curve because it's a fish angle. It's a fisheye lens, right? But when we use regular cameras that don't have fisheye lenses, attach them to balloons, send them out, into the atmosphere 100,000 feet before they pop, there's no curvature, none. People say, I see curvature, at the top of this mountain. I've been to Mount something. I can see the curvature. No, you can't. Not the highest mountain in the world. You can't see curvature. They say, well, in a plane, I can see curvature. You're 30,000 feet, 35,000. Nope, there's no curvature. Science will tell you that you can see curvature at 80,000 feet. That's what science says. So don't argue with me, argue with science, okay? Because that's your religion. But at 100,000 feet, there's still no curvature, right? But it's ironic. This is what's ironic is we get the same view as the ISS, right? Just without the curvature. It looks like the same distance. There's some ridiculous photographs, videos of like Lake Tahoe going by, and it looks like it's 1/8 of the planet, right? And NASA's made some mistakes, and people have caught them. But you don't want to hear it. You don't want to see it. You're not out there searching for it because you don't care. You're just going to go call those people stupid who've spent way more time than you, like to a factor, I don't even know, like 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times. But you have your high school degree. You saw a globe. You didn't go out there looking at the countless hours of scrutinized video, the zoom ins, the wires, the hairspray, the green screen fails. You didn't look at that because that's not on the news, and that interferes with your Fortnite, and it interferes with your Facebook. They're distracting you, right? And I'm sorry if you don't see it.
I've been asked by some
Oh, this is a good one. Holy shit. Let me, we gotta talk about this. Now, thank God Elon got sloppy. Jesus Christ, because I liked Elon. I liked Elon up until SpaceX. I didn't know what was going on. I was like, man, if Elon, god dang, I liked him, man. He was the PayPal dude, right? He changed the world. He's the Tesla dude. I fucking love Teslas, man. The thought of an electric car, it's green, right? They're fast as shit. You can smoke hot rods in them. Man. But this video right here, he released this Starman. He released this Starman in space, right? Well, he got busted on so many levels, so many. Bling Bling analyzed the video. There's people out there that are just devoting their lives to this. And Bling Bling goes out there and she analyzes the video and realizes that in 3 orbits of the Earth, the clouds never changed. Never. Just look at the clouds over Australia, look over anywhere. It's a static image they have of the background. Over 3 days, the clouds didn't change. Okay, explain that shit. Like, explain that shit to me. I'm going to shut up because I don't know how the audio works out when I'm playing both, so you can listen to a little bit of this.
So I've done that. I've found a couple of things. So without further ado, enjoy. It started pretty quickly for me when I saw this white object float into the screen. And here we get our first observation of Australia. I want you to notice the pattern of the clouds. We'll talk more about that in a bit. Well guys, I found the curvature. Look on the left at the bottom how it wraps around. I guess we were wrong after all. There's the curvature. This black mark is interesting. And so is the cloud pattern around it. That seahorse head looks very interesting. Remember it. Here's that same seahorse head image on another orbit. And here is another rotation, and here is that same image and the same clouds, the same seahorse, and the same 2 other clouds to the side of it. Here's the second orbit of Australia. It seems like only Australia was able to be seen from this deep in space with the Tesla. And what's also strange is the fact that the clouds never changed at all during 3 orbits. It's the 3rd orbit. They blurred out the clouds here. You can see that. I guess it's too difficult to make new clouds. And here is a screenshot of all 3 orbits. And the clouds are all the same. Stop the video and study it, if you must, to see that I'm telling you the truth. These clouds are identical. They haven't changed. Go ahead and stop the video here and study this if you must, because you'll see that the only thing that's different is the size of the clouds have been resized smaller.
Okay, so now obviously it would take a long time. You'd have to watch a lot of video to see it unedited, right? But she's not lying. Go back, look for yourself. The video is still out there. Grab it. You know, SpaceX been busted worse than this. Worse. This isn't even the worst of it. Okay, let me show you something. Now, I have verified this. This is verified. This is in real time. Okay.
I saw quite a few YouTubers pick
Hold
up
on.
this quickly right after dissecting the footage of Starman floating in front of an image of the Earth. And they are spot on. Watch closely the CGI glitch of the Earth in the background as the Tesla floats in front of it. Did you see it? Watch it again. This time slowly. Now, why is this significant? Because Starman and his red chick magnet of a car didn't glitch. It was only the background of the moving image, meaning it's a layered video feed. If it was a camera glitch, you would see Starman, his Tesla, and the Earth all glitch simultaneously in the same way, in the same direction, and all recover at the same time. You don't, because it was just one layer of the video suffering this glitch, while the video feed of Starman and his hot ride, the top layer, was consistent. Busted. When are you guys going to start asking yourself why they have to fake all this science fiction garbage if space, as it is presented to us in our government schools and the... Guys, they're...
Okay, so there's still worse than this, though, right? Look at this. When they opened the doors, when they first showed us Starman opening the doors. Let me show you something.
Cameras operate. That's only a secondary, however, to how the camera reacts to the change in light. When the rocket popped top
Now,
open,
did you see it when it opened? This is interesting because this is the live video when they first showed us Starman. See, I think they didn't mean for that part to be seen. I don't know what they were thinking. I don't know. I have no idea. But first off, look at this angle. All right, the angle of the car has never changed. I understand. Well, that's what the camera's mounted at. I understand your logic. But hear me out. Okay, we have this angle, and then what is this? What is that? I mean, let's see. Right. Let's go back. Right there. Is that the inside of this? I mean, is that the? It's not what I've seen when I've looked at the space shuttle. I don't know. What is this? But this is what they showed you live. This is live. This is live footage, and it's still out there. Well, let me show you where it gets really interesting is, hold on. Star Wars. Wow, here we go. SpaceX. Oh, we got a better one. Okay. Isn't that interesting? This was of a photo in a room. See the yellow and black little thing. There's better photos than this. I should have. There's actually much farther back photos to this. But wow, look at that angle. That's really an interesting angle, isn't it? And what is this room? Because that's the room. This is a room, okay? This is a room somewhere. And if you can't put to it now, whoever took this photo put their life in jeopardy. I don't know. You know, sometimes I think they'd release it on purpose to like mock you. I don't know. I have no idea at this point. How did this get out? But it's out there, and it shouldn't have been shown in the live feed. What they have is massive screens behind this plane. They didn't do green screen on this. Like the SpaceX, they did it differently because they wanted the exact reflection on the car, and they wanted to see the right bend through the windshield. So they thought, we got a great idea. Let's mount this fucking car on an angle, and let's do massive, massive screens. But they didn't count on this, on them accidentally showing this. They didn't count on the glitches, and they didn't think Elon would buy his fucking map of the Earth for some cheap ass website called Squid something, right? Like you can actually go buy the map that he used. That's what's ironic. What he did was just changed it different directions and moved the clouds a few times, but or moved the map. You know, rotated the Earth so that the map appears to have moved a little bit. But all this is out there. If you don't believe me, just research it. If you look, it's there. All you have to do is look. Okay. Michio Kaku, clouds or static Starman. What else? This is interesting. If you haven't seen this, you know, this is something I didn't know. But again, all this stuff plays a part together. The SR-71 Blackbird, right? What's it do? Mach 3 or something. I think it's, let me see if I got that. Yeah, top speed 2,193 miles an hour. Apparently, this thing, I didn't know, when they fuel up the Blackbird, it leaks a shit ton of gas, okay? Right there on the ground, when they fill it up, it starts leaking. The reason it leaks a shit ton of gas, and there are documentaries on this, official documentaries, all right, like made by reputable channels that you'll believe those, okay? And it says that it goes so fast, 2,193 miles an hour, that the titanium alloy body expands And they had to design it so that, because you can't have rubber bladders, those would overheat. Obviously, wherever the gas is in the wings, I'm assuming, I could be wrong about that. Most planes, the gas is in the wings, but it leaks a shit ton of fuel. But instead of having it leak in the air, they said, well, let's design it so that it leaks on the ground, and as it heats up, we account for the expansion of the titanium alloy, and it then seals itself, right? So if you watch these videos, they'll show you at a point, and I'm not sure, I don't want to sit here and watch the whole thing. I didn't clip the short version of this, but they'll show it just leaking. They fuel it up, and it leaks a shit ton of 3.2, Mach 3.2. They show it leaking a shit ton of fuel, just like gallons, just dumping out of the bottom of it. I couldn't believe how much. Oh yeah, here's talking about the fuel leaks, right? Let's listen to it. So apparently they don't talk. All right, I didn't. There are ones where they do talk. I didn't realize the one I pulled down they don't talk. But so isn't this amazing? This technological marvel, the fastest thing we had that was undisclosed at that point in time is this SR-71, which I've actually seen it in person. It's pretty interesting. When I was at Lackland Air Force Base and going through the military basic training, it leaks a shit ton of fuel. All right. Now, do you know the speed that the space shuttle goes at? The space shuttle does 17,500 miles an hour. Not a measly 2,000. 17,500. I just thought that's amazing. That's amazing, right? Like where we've come. This was in service till I think 1999. The SR-71. I think it was 1999. Let me see if I have that information here. Probably not. Yeah, I don't have it readily in front of me. But that's it. Something else I was going to say before I close. Let me see. Interesting, like Lake Baikal. This is one of the things that makes me believe that there's so many videos, there's so many photos, there's so much measurements, there's so many measurements that have been done by people smarter than me. And that's not a big accomplishment, by the way. Just throwing it out there. Lake Baikal, 400 miles long in Siberia, perfectly flat. It's one of the flattest places on Earth. When frozen, the curvature should add 20 miles. So 400 miles. Now, they have Earth curvature calculators. Go out there and look. If you think these numbers are absurd, you don't understand about the term exponential, right? One mile of curvature, science tells one mile would have 0.666 inches, which is, it's ironic. That's Masonic math, right? It's always evil. Everything that's a nice 100 miles should have, like, I don't know, I can't. Yeah, don't quote me. It's always 666, 66. It's 666 everywhere. It's 666 for a mile. It's always everything. We're on the we use the for lack of a better term, like a base 10 system, right? Instead of it is the base 10 system. We do everything in tens instead of a segadecimal system, like based on sixes, which some cultures like the Sumerians did. But anyway, they throw it right in your face. They mock you. They even used our, using a standard conversion. It's 666. It's always 666 everywhere. Distance to the moon, it breaks down to 666. Circumference of the Earth, circumference of the moon, speed of the. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that. Maybe you don't care about that. But again, the clues are out there for anyone who wants to look. And if you start looking, if you come to anything else other than this is a religious war, I don't see how you can. Anyway, All right, so I put down an hour and a half. No, 2 hours, 9 minutes. I didn't realize that much went by. One thing I didn't mention the other day, there's all these flights that don't exist that should, okay? Here's an example right here. On the globular Earth, flying from Abu Dhabi to Fort Worth, this is the trajectory that you see, right? So you're looking on your little thing in front of you on the plane, and you're looking at, and you're like, why do we fly like this? But on a flat Earth, here's a flat Earth map. This is the trajectory you took on a flat Earth map, okay? Makes no sense. Here we have California to UK, and on a flat Earth map, it's straight. I don't have it here. Apparently, I screwed up when I saved that one. I didn't realize when I saved it they had two images stacked on top of each other, but it's a straight line. But you're like, why do I curve up over Greenland, and over the Hudson Bay? I don't understand. Why did I do that? Why didn't I just go straight? Isn't straightest but no. What about Cuba to Moscow? Here's Cuba to Moscow. The blue line, someone was just highlighting it with the green line to make it stick out more, but same thing, same curvature. Flat map. Boom. Straight line, right? Well, what about Johannesburg to Perth? Here's how we fly on a globular Earth. Johannesburg, Africa, Dubai, Perth, Australia. What is it? It's practically straight on a flat map, right? You can tell there's Antarctica, right? This is the AE map, the azimuthal equidistant. Let's look about Los Angeles to China. Big old curve, right? Way out of the way. Flat Earth, straight mile. Says my husband finds it very odd that his flight to China out of LA is taking this pattern. So I show him the same pattern on a flat Earth map, and he says it totally makes sense now, and I would be flying over land most of my flight and not water. This may have convinced my husband 100% that the Earth is flat. So, yeah, sometimes it just takes the right evidence and you see it. All of these flights should exist. These would be the fastest flights. None of these flights exist, and you want to know why? Well, one reason is that you can't fly over Antarctica. It's a no-fly zone. But that law is only in place, in my opinion, in my belief system, that you can't. It is the wall. It is the ring that you're contained in. This map, this is a globe that you're looking at right now. This is the bottom of a globe. It's the bottom of a sphere. There is no sphere. You can't traverse over Antarctica. You can't. And what you have to understand, if I haven't mentioned in this video, is that everything works. That all the things you're thinking off the top of your head, that, well, this wouldn't work, that wouldn't work. How do how do planes, I know I can travel east to west. I know I can use a compass. All that stuff works, okay? You can travel east and come right back at your house, right? Because your compass will always, magnetic north on a flat map will always be the center of the map, and it will pull you in a circle, right? It might be hard for you to understand. If you need to see the GIF, I'll show you the GIF. I'll show you the video. There's just things you don't think through, and until you went totally down the rabbit hole. Listen to both sides of the argument, all right? For someone who researches, there should be no argument. If the science is real, Michio Kaku says it's off by a factor of 10 to the 120, the greatest mismatch in the history of science. That's why all these problems are here. Do you see the problem? Michio Kaku's not wrong, right? Bill Clinton wasn't wrong. Jim Carrey is not wrong. B.O.B. is not wrong. The problem is if you research it, the science is wrong. The science doesn't match up. All right? You want to talk about a cosmological error? The canopy above us, the stars, it's wrong, okay? It can't be space like they tell us and have this dome with a map, an image on it that's rotating. That can't be, all right? What about Washington to Paris? There you go. But on a flat map, straight line. Gravity. Why? It's just a theory. Okay, here, this is interesting. Centrifugal force. We know centrifugal force is real because we can produce it on Earth. And again, I always come back to as above, so below. Now, what they want you to believe is that Earth is just so massive, it's just beyond your scale of reasoning, right? But we know this, that if you're on the equator, there has to be way more centrifugal force than being at the pole, right? Imagine being on that thing on the playground, they spin, and you're out at the end of it, and you're doing, I don't know, 10 miles an hour at the end, but you're standing in the middle. The middle's not throwing you off, but the outsides they want to fling you off, right? So basically at the pole, you're essentially doing nothing. If you're at the center of the pole, you're just spinning, but there's no centrifugal force. But if you're out at the equator, you're doing 1,030 some odd miles an hour. Now that's a lot of centrifugal force. Things should be lighter on the equator, not by a little bit, by a long shot. It shouldn't be lighter. You should go flying off. That's the reality of it is. But they want to tell you that gravity pulls you down. Well, I understand that, but now gravity's having a fight with centrifugal force. That's a force also. Gravity's a force. Centrifugal force is a force. Are they saying that gravity's stronger at the equator? Is that what they're saying? I mean, think about this. Use logic. Use science if you have to. I don't know. Science the shit out of it. I'm pretty sure gravity doesn't change based on. It's a mass-based equation. A certain amount of mass is a certain amount of gravity, but I'm pretty sure that spin of mass has no impact on gravity, right? Maybe I understand it wrong. I'm not saying I'm not a theoretical physicist. I just I have common sense, and I've played with toys like this. I've been on the center of that piece of equipment in the playground, and I've been on the end, and I know that the end certainly throws you harder, right? So does that make sense to you? I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. So maybe that's not a good one. I know that the problem is, here you go from the ISS. Do you think Florida's that big? Holy shit. Someone actually imposed that onto a full globe. If you can't see that NASA and the ISS is using fisheye lenses, this is a fisheye lens. That's the problem. And they just take advantage of your ignorance and your trust. So I'm going to shut it down with that. I'm going to keep doing these. I'm going to do them every night. And what I'm going to try to do is open up Skype. And if you want to jump on, I don't care who you are. You can be Joe from Taiwan. I really don't care who you are. I'd love to have you as a guest. I'd like to discuss it. As long as it doesn't turn into an argument. I prefer not to argue, but I'm easily sucked into them. If you think you can keep it to a discussion. If you have questions, I don't care. If you want to contribute, that's great. If you'd like to be on my podcast, if you're into Jiu-Jitsu and you just want to talk Jiu-Jitsu, that's great. MMA, Jiu-Jitsu, love it. If you'd like to talk flat Earth or some other conspiracies, I've been down most conspiracy rabbit holes. So I hope you like it. I hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully I'll get better in my presentation and my confidence with speaking. Again, I'm not used to this setting, right? I'm not used to storytelling, so I'm working at it, guys. If you do come back, great. Hopefully the next one will be better. So thanks for sticking with me. My safe word's pineapple. So if you made it that far, let me know. I'll be impressed. Take care.